What's up? Welcome in, Hoge and Jahns, back with you after a Bears-less weekend, a little mini bye for the Chicago Bears. We thought we'd give you an episode a little bit early because of that. These 11 days off. Jahns, how'd you enjoy your Bears-less weekend?
I watched a lot of football. I coached some football.
Okay.
One son had a soccer game, but the Johns boys played 3 football games. I also watched some of Josh Allen, some of Jalen Hurts. What else did I see? That's bad. I watched those 2 games because
Okay.
the Johns boys took up most of my weekend, which they should.
Yeah, you have 7 of them now, I think. So yeah,
It feels like it sometimes.
yeah. I actually spent most of yesterday not watching football. To be honest, we did some fall. Went to a farm, saw some animals, pumpkins. Went to a brewery. It was a nice little day. And I saw the fourth quarter of the Chiefs-Bills game,
Which was great football.
Yeah, and then I saw my fantasy team lose by an excruciating 1.8 points in the Sunday night game.
I am sorry, everybody, that this podcast somehow always goes back to Adam Hoge's fantasy football team, but here we are in a league where somehow, what was that trade you pulled off again?
I got Josh Allen.
Yeah, but what did you get? You got Josh Allen.
No, yeah, I got Josh Allen.
Yeah. Guy should be banned from doing fantasy football, number one. But
yeah, there's some others in the league that feel the same way.
Anyway, who cares?
All right. Well, we have a special episode coming for you today. We thought with the mini bye and everything that's been going on in that crazy game we all witnessed Thursday night against Washington, that we get together the bunch of the Bears reporters, those that are inside that Bears media room on a daily basis, to get together and have kind of a big picture conversation about the first 6 games of this season with 11 to go. We started with 5, including ourselves, and then we ended up in a 6-man formation. Well, 5-man, 1-woman formation, I think, if we're being completely accurate on that one. But very excited about this. We've been looking forward to this all week. We put it together, and well, let's jump right into it with our conversation with a bunch of Bears reporters.
Roundtable.
Okay, so with the mini bye, we thought it'd be a good idea to kind of do a roundtable of the great Bears reporters we have covering this not so great football team. So we're bringing in Chris Emma, Mark Grote, Colleen, Kane, all here on a Monday as we get this thing going. What's going on, guys?
Thanks for having us. This is fun. Been looking forward to this all mini bye weekend.
Sure you have.
See, when Notre Dame was losing on Saturday night, the only thing that was keeping him happy was this coming up on Monday morning.
Oh, you're actually right, though. That's.
I'm happy to be here too. Thank you.
And Grote, come on, say you're happy to be here as well.
I am absolutely thrilled. I wanted to hear more about Emma's mini bye, but yes, of course, I'm very happy to be here with you, talented ladies and gentlemen.
Well, of course, Chris and Mark Grote covering the Bears for 670 Score, Odyssey, and also Emma doing some stuff for Marquee these days too, as well. And rocking hoodie season, as we can see on that's a solid hoodie. That's good.
90s kids coming to town next month.
Nice.
My buddy's band.
And Colleen Kane covering the Bears for the Tribune. All right, guys. So lots to digest from what was not a pretty game at all Thursday night. And Grote was out there battling the elements. His giant jacket that we were just discussing off before we were recording here. Grote, let's start with you. What were you seeing down there from the Bears with your sideline view as they were, both teams struggling to put up points, but then every once in a while you'd see, oh, there's an exciting play, and then they just couldn't get in the end zone. 0 for 3 from inside the 6-yard line on 1st and goal.
Yeah, I saw pain. In a lot of different ways, and I'll talk about the figurative pain of not getting the ball into the end zone, because I think that when you're that close that many times, there's a feeling from the crowd of WTF, why are you not getting into the end zone? Well, guess what? It's the same way for the players, coming over the sideline and shaking their heads, not once, not twice, but 3 times. And once it's bad enough, like for morale, when you talk about their demeanors on the sideline. I mean, that absolutely sucks. So there was the pain of that. And then I saw a lot of pain in general from the players. I mean, we all saw Justin Fields and the hits he took. Every single time he came to the sideline, I get as close to him as I could. You'd kind of see trainers, doctors kind of like, do we need to go over by him? And he'd kind of shoo them off and defiantly sit down at his place and get on the tablets and get back to it, I suppose, to his credit. But he was taking a beating. And then, the same thing with the offensive linemen. It's sort of one by one, the inside of the Bears offensive line, starting with Tevin Jenkins with the shoulder and Lucas Patrick then with a concussion. Amazing that they both eventually took more snaps. But I guess the word of the day for me is the pain in all sorts of different ways, just from observing the guys on the sideline.
Chris and Colleen, what did you think of that game? It felt it got more unbelievable to me as it just like even down to like the final possession, like where Justin Fields runs the ball down to the 4, and then they missed 4 attempts. It just got cut. Unbelievable is probably the best way I could put it. It was inexplicable. It's wild. But how did you feel covering this game? To me, it was one of the wildest games I've covered in my 10 plus years covering this team.
You could, what Grote said, piggybacking off that, the pain they felt. And I know you and I saw the same thing in the locker room post-game, Johns, because we had kind of the same lead and the same thoughts of just like how down, in particular the quarterback, Justin Fields, just the look on his face as he sat there in disbelief, and so many of these teammates trying to pick each other up. And look, it's not a good football team. We know that. But the thing is, these guys have been coached and forced this belief into each other that they're better than people think, that they can go out and surprise people. So on the outside, I don't think anybody's saying, I can't believe the Bears lost that game. But inside that locker room, like, they're genuinely shocked and distraught right now. They thought they were going to be better than 2-4 right now. They believe that there's better talent on this football team. And whether it's true or not, that's the kind of belief that you want in year one with a foundational type season. And you heard it too, Justin Fields after the game saying, I'm sick of hearing we're close. I'm sick of hearing it. That's coming from the head coach. Like, that's Matt Eberflus is telling them. And he said it. That's his post-game message was, we're that close, a couple more plays away. Look, these guys are sick of it. They're sick of falling up short. And ideally, Justin Fields is that piece that you build with, and he gets you out of being close and makes those winning plays in time. But they just don't have the talent right now. And as odd as that game seemed, I don't think it's all that surprising, considering that this is just not a very good football team.
I was going to use, you were using all those adjectives. I was going to say astounding was the one that I came up with. Just the red zone issues and the fact that, like we were asking Eberflus after the game, what's the common theme in the red zone issues? And he's like, well, there isn't one because, Justin goes down to the 5 and throws an interception. Then they can't, punch it in with Khalil Herbert from 4th and 1. Then Justin misses a wide open Ryan Griffin. Then Darnell Mooney drops it, and it's like, there's everything that's wrong with the offense. It all shows up in the red zone issues. And it just, it was crazy. And I was trying to, I have to do the running gamer. So I post it right after the game. And after Velas, muffed the catch, I was just like, oh, it was a hard one to write about.
Like a running list of problems.
Yes, exactly.
Right. And the Velas thing is just like this big explosion at the end. You know what I mean? It's like, no, after all of that, there's the Velas muff and not looking like, and there's no excuses either. No, there's no more excuses for Velas Jones on that.
No, it's like the timing of it too, right? It's not just like a first quarter muff punt. It's
right.
Fourth quarter, close game.
Yeah.
Just inside the 10.
Right.
Yeah. So with all those problems, I think we're all acknowledging that are there. Would you say that all the criticisms of Justin Fields so far this season are fair? I mean, the numbers aren't great. Numbers don't always tell the whole story, but at least he's got his completion percentage up to 54% now. 4 touchdowns, 5 interceptions at this point in the season. I guess what is fair to put on the quarterback so far? Because by all metrics, he's essentially the worst starting quarterback in the NFL right now. But at other times, you know, the talent's still popping out at you, and you're going, well, wait a minute, he just doesn't have any help.
Yeah, I think if you want to do this objectively and fairly, you have to separate both the fact of the offensive line and receivers with what Justin Fields is doing and not doing. And it's so easy to just say one or the other. He doesn't have the talent around him, this or that, or the play calling's not there. But then you watch a game like that and you see, you know, a miss like to Ryan Griffin in the end zone, or that first drive where he's got Mooney coming back on the in route and just can't hit him. And how many opportunities we've seen throughout the course of the year. That Green Bay game where you get EQ running out down the sidelines. He gets open, and that's a throw that most quarterbacks find. They get that guy open and they hit him. It's just, there's examples, of course, drop passes, Dante Pettis, how many drops we saw in Minneapolis, things like that, protection issues, how many times he's scrambling. I get that all. But if you really want to do this the right way, you have to really identify what Justin's doing versus what the offense is prohibiting. And he's missing opportunities still. He's missing some of the layups. He's hit some spectacular plays, no doubt. That run was outstanding. That throw to Pettis for the touchdown was superb. That's what you want to see. And we've seen the glimpses in his young career now, 15, 16 starts, whatever it is. But there's still so many opportunities that are there that he's not taking. He's not converting. So, yes, ideally when you do get that supporting cast and you get, you know, that number one, he doesn't have that number one right now. He might not even have that number two right now. But when you get those guys, if he does have the luxury of having that, maybe they elevate him. I don't know. Maybe a better offensive line gives him an opportunity to be the quarterback that we find. But you can't just lump it in and say he doesn't have the talent to throw this year out, because you're seeing opportunities that are there and he's not getting them.
Which L train was that going by?
That's the brown and the red. Your own neck of the woods, Hoge.
Yeah, I know that sound. Just wanted to clarify which line it was. I think
now
it was
the sound of the elevated tracks.
Now we know how Emma got a one-bedroom apartment for $50 a month in Park.
Steel baby, absolutely.
That's awesome.
No, it's all $50 a month. Really, that's awesome. Oh yeah, there's a tray that goes over your head.
It's oddly soothing.
Yeah, Colleen.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Emma was saying, it's hard. It's just hard to separate it out, because he's obviously, you know, like he's anxious in the pocket. He's too often, you know, taking the ball and running with it, you know, without going through his progressions. And you're like, yeah, but he's also like has a reason to be anxious, right? Like he's getting pressure all the time. Same with the receiver stuff. Like we hear, so we go into some of the plays and we'll hear that Darnell Mooney didn't run the exact, you know, wasn't in the exact right position. And you're like, okay, so he's in the wrong spot, but shouldn't he still have been able to hit that throw? Same with Ryan Griffin. Like, okay, maybe he should have been a little bit farther back, but he still should have been able to hit him there, right? Like, so it's very, I don't know, it's hard to separate it out. As for your question about whether it's fair, yeah, of course it's fair. I don't think it's fair to panic and write him off yet, as some people are doing, but it's fair to criticize.
When Justin Fields has time, I love those moments, and it feels like they're far and few in between. When he has time and he's back there surveying, like that's Justin Fields, like college Justin Fields, where he had that time and he had those receivers getting open. There are not enough moments like that. And quite frankly, the interceptions too. I mean, there are interceptions that are worse than others. It feels like most of his are at very destructive. There are no innocuous interceptions when it comes to Justin Fields, it seems like. And I agree with Emma in that there are too many times where, unfortunately, we can all turn on the tape and look at or just watch the game in real time, depending on what your angle is, and see guys that he should have gone to, or guys that were open that he should have been able to find. That's the kind of thing that's got to be fixed. And I don't know, after 16 games that he has started in his career, at what point do you say, yeah, there's no excuse for not seeing that guy wide open and sticking to his progressions, and not looking to Colleen's point to, you know, looking at that first read and then not really moving on to other things. So, and then he's also, you know, and I know this is the easy thing to say after watching the game the other night, it's still, an ongoing problem for him since that first hit he took in the preseason where he was blindsided, looked like he was knocked out. He's still got to protect himself better. Relatively speaking, he got away with it in that game. He admitted he was hurting. It's his left shoulder, and he's going to, he said that he's determined to play in the Monday night game, and I believe he will. But guess what? We all know that one of these times he's not going to get up, and I think that's incumbent upon him to protect himself better, too.
Mark, can I quickly ask you about their sideline operation since you're there, you're present, you're always watching Justin Fields? I think a lot of times the broadcast just kind of captures him alone, just sitting there by himself. And he was famously caught, with his eyes closed this time, going through looked like his breathing techniques. But from your vantage point, like, how is the communication working with Getsy? I know Janocko, the quarterback's coach, Andrew Janocko, is up in the booth, but like, who's working with them? Who's going over the film with them? How many times is Getsy over there having conversations with them? Can you take us through that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think for the most part, the most consistent person in his ear or with the tablet or sharing notes is Trevor Siemian, for sure, the Bears' backup quarterback. So, that kind of was similar to the predicaments last year as well, except it was Nick Foles was his BFF for sure. So Siemian is the first guy. Luke Getsy definitely comes over to him a decent amount. It's a little bit more intermittent. It's not just automatic that Getsy will come over to Justin Fields, but he's over there, a decent amount of the time. Justin Fields will occasionally conduct meetings with his wide receivers. I see that a decent amount with any of those guys, like just talking about things that need to be in place. But I would say that Siemian is definitely the first person in his ear, then Luke Getsy, and then every once in a blue moon, Eberflus. But Eberflus, for the most part, 90% of the time he's in his place and sort of staying away and letting the coaches coach. To his credit, I think.
Good. I was curious about that because there's a level of concern out there. I don't know if you're going to hit on that, Adam, but
no, I don't. I'm not concerned about it. I do think I think if I had to pick, I like the fact that Luke Getsy's down on the sideline instead of upstairs in the booth. But I think every coach is different. It's, however they feel like they can best coach their team, and that's fine. I do think the downside, though, of having the OC downstairs and the QB coach upstairs is just obviously the offense coordinator has more to worry about than just the quarterback. And he's got to start game planning the next drive and, checking his charts and all this stuff. So it can't just be like the QB coach where I'm concerned about the quarterback every moment. And so I do think you have to have others step up on the staff, or even it sounds like in the case of Trevor Siemian. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. I just think that's the downside to doing it the way the Bears are doing it.
Well, I will say this real quick, just to jump back in, that there's a decent amount of times where, one of our great media relations people, Allie Sayers, she'll be like, phone call, Mr. Fields, and they'll get on the hard line. So there is a lot of, as you guys know, communication with Justin Fields or Luke Getsy to, I assume, Andrew Janocko up in the booth, so they communicate that way as well.
Yeah. Colleen, at this point, 6 games in, how do you feel about Luke Getsy, the Bears' offensive coordinator, his play calling? I think, at least in my opinion, you see opportunities there. I don't know if the quarterback gets there, but you also see some play calls that are what's going on there? Like the 4th and 1. I don't know if it's a good idea to run into the strength of the Washington defense with their 2, great defensive tackles. So 6 games in, what do you think about Luke Getsy?
Yeah, I think the jury's still out, right? I thought the stuff at the beginning of the year with the run-pass balance was overblown. I thought there was, the game situations were unique enough in that, and now we're obviously seeing Justin throw more. So I thought that was kind of overblown. But I think, like you said, I think there are obvious examples of plays working and receivers just missing them and Justin just missing them. And so, but I do think, I every offensive coordinator is going to have plays that you're questioning, right? Especially when you miss in the red zone. I think the red zone issues are probably a little bit on him. I heard people asking about, what you guys think about having Khalil Herbert in there at the end? And it was something I was thinking to myself in the game, and should they have put David Montgomery in that situation? I know that they stick with drives with Khalil and with David, but to me, I was like, David seems like the one that's going to get you the yard there if you need it.
I saw that two ways. One, that like you want to reward the player who got you down there, because that was like 3 or 4 plays after was it a 60-yarder, 61-yarder by Khalil Herbert?
Yeah.
They put you in that position, and they have stuck to the rotation there, where it was Khalil Herbert's possession, and he was not going to leave during that possession. And if there's one criticism I have, it's you almost wonder if you look at the snap counts of the running backs in that game, and Montgomery played like considerably more, even though Herbert seemed to be running the ball a bit better. I don't know if there could be an adjustment there, or like last week, Adam suggested, let's get him on the field. If you have issues at receiver, why not get your best 2 running backs, 2 of your best players on the field at the same time? Figure something out in that regard.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I still feel the same way. Like, if you're in this position where you have to keep playing Amir Smith-Marset, right? Like, can't you come up with something in which you have, if you have 2 good running backs, get them out there together. I'm not saying every play. Obviously, you can't do that. No. But, in certain moments, come up with some type of package that at least gets your best playmakers out there.
Hey, go ahead, Emma.
I was going to say, I've liked what Luke Getsy's vision and plan is for this offense, and you're exactly right. And the run-pass balance thing was overblown. I've seen purpose with the run while also creating opportunities in the passing game. I've seen some really good design, like that the play that Fields missed to Griffin. Like, I had to go back on that like 3 different times, saying, where did Griffin come from? And like, if you're on the Washington defense full speed, you have no idea. That's an example of Getsy's innovation, creating opportunities. I think his biggest issue right now, guys, is just the fact that he's trying to figure out who he can trust and who he goes to in these kind of situations, and specifically in the red zone. You're right. That probably should have been a Montgomery opportunity there when you get in goal to go and you want your guy who can power on home for those scores. I think he's just kind of struggling with the idea of who does he trust? Who can he go to in these key situations? And that's all positions, not just running back, but receiver, of course. Understanding what he can do with timing for Fields behind that offensive line. There's so many different aspects of this offense that are disjointed right now, and I think Getsy knows what he wants to do. I think he's just struggling to identify how he does it with this group.
Yeah, he's got to adjust game to game, half to half. I mean, you could even say quarter to quarter. There's a ton of adjusting, because even if something is going right, it starts to go wrong. I'll say this. I hated the game plan against Green Bay. I mean, I know that they ended up running the ball very well that day, but I thought that going in and say we're just going to kick their ass in the run game. I do think that there was some fear, and has been some fear of trust issues with what they think Justin Fields is capable of at this point. And no matter what you want to say, personnel, this team, rebuild. When you go 0 for 3 in the red zone and 5 yards or less in those 3 situations, that does not look good on a resume. And that does go on Luke Getsy's resume. Talk about the players all day, but if we're actually evaluating the offensive coordinator at this point, it's an incomplete, especially considering what we kind of thought things would be in terms of scheme and all of that. And there's been a more earnest effort to throw the ball downfield, at least to give the attempt of throwing the ball downfield. But I think there needs to be more of that, a little bit more trust and a little more guts at times too.
One thing we've started to explore here a little bit, guys, I think on the podcast, and certainly a little bit post-game Thursday, is just, where does Ryan Poles fit in all this? And I'd love to hear, if we ever get a chance to talk to him, and I'm not even sure to answer the question honestly, but was your approach this year with Justin Fields as simple as sink or swim with what's on the roster? Like, let's see what you're really made of, or did he over evaluate the guys that he was bringing in here? Like maybe a Byron Pringle or something like that he just thought would be much more impactful than maybe they have. Even like a Lucas Patrick, did he think these guys were going to give Justin Fields more help than they really have to this point? I'd just love to hear your thoughts. Kyle, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I we need to hear from him on the topic, right? Like, I just don't know. I feel like everything that we knew was going to be a problem is a problem. Like, everyone knew it. He had to have known it too, right? Like, if we all knew it, he has to know it. So I don't, I think he was clear in the preseason that this is going to be a long process. Like, I think he made that pretty clear. He didn't want to use the word rebuilding, but he, in kind of subtly, was like, obviously I can't make all the moves I want to make, but it's just, I guess I just don't know how he views Justin in the lens of all of this, in, the offensive line not functioning properly and the wide receivers not, being what he thought they were going to be, or, helping Justin out, I guess. I just don't know how he views that, we would need to hear from him, I guess.
I want to know if, I was thinking this the other day, at this point, does Ryan Poles regret not having been more serious about the wide receiver position in the offseason? I don't know if we'd ever get the answer to that question, and we might get the answer to that question depending on what he does transactionally for the rest of this season. Does he regret that at this point? Because I think he thought he could get away with rank and file receivers except for Darnell Mooney, but now here he is on this island with Amir Smith-Marset, and it's just not working out with these guys except for intermittently. So I really wonder if he, at this point, the great hope for Bears fans is there, and you guys know this, if you mention N'Keal Harry's name, Bears fans go crazy because he's still the great unknown. He has not been tarnished yet. So does he?
It just takes one drop. Everything changes. Everyone was excited about Dante Pettis, second opportunity, high round draft pick. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So right. So like
we've been talking about
there's a reason why he's not on the Patriots anymore. There's a reason why he's circling the Patriots, his former team, on the calendar.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really earnestly wonder if he would have done things like just one that could be dependable in that decent a good free agent crop of receivers. So I do wonder about that because I think we're all seeing that, there's the debate of, does the quarterback make the wide receiver great, or does the receiver make the quarterback? Like, how does that all come together? I think right now some of the receivers are, even though Justin Fields has his issues, no doubt about it, I think some of the receivers are bringing his game down at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, and Chris, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Like, how much is his? Like, I think he had a very favorable view of Justin Fields coming in.
Yeah.
Like, how much is that changing now? Like, I'm sure he loves the toughness and the resiliency because, he scouts for resiliency. He's talked about looking for that in players, and Justin Fields is showing a ton of it right now. Getting hurt, playing on, making plays, putting his team in a situation in another game to win a football game. Like, he's showing resiliency. But at the same time, there's misses there. There's the Ryan Griffin miss. There's the Cole Kmet miss over the middle. There's the holding the ball too long, which, hurts the offensive line a bit. Like, I'm sure he's experiencing this roller coaster as well. So what I'm curious about, like, by the end of the year, like, does the resiliency win out, or is he more concerned about maybe some of the misses and the hesitancy, to throw the ball?
Yeah, we've been talking about N'Keal Harry like he's Jerry Rice. It's just like I get the whole deal with this receiver. Like, I think Poles did think that he has enough around Fields. Like, back to the combine, he talked about Darnell Mooney. Remember that, guys? He singled out Darnell Mooney.
You think he thought there was enough around Justin Fields in that group? Really?
Yeah. I don't think he thought it was a top group, but he thought it was a functional group. He thought he had a one in Mooney. He thought somebody like Pringle could emerge as that too. He thought it wasn't going to be this bad. And to your point, Adam, it's a great question. How does he now reevaluate Fields throughout the course of the season? Maybe alter his expectations. We talked way too much about how tough Justin Fields is. Going back to last year as well. You got to stop talking about it. He's got to stop getting these hits. The Bears got to take better care of him and give him an opportunity now. So, yeah, like we talked about before, it's about parsing out what you have and don't have at wide receiver in the offensive line versus what Fields is doing within the course of this offense. I do think it's going to get better for Fields. I think he's going to continue to grow within Getsy's scheme. I certainly see the opportunity that's there as he develops within this group. I said, I do want to be fair on it. I want to be objective and say, separate what the supporting cast is versus what the quarterback's doing, but it needs to be better. Like the Mooney thing is not worked out the way that Ryan Poles envisioned. I think he truly thought he could be one of those, top tier receivers, maybe not top 5, obviously, but like top 15 group. That's not worked out so far. None of these other guys have stepped up to be those difference-making players around Justin Fields. And let's throw Cole Kmet in there as well. Kmet's not made that kind of jump that everybody thought maybe he could have this season. You're just not seeing that group emerging around Fields. And now it's on the general manager to say how much of this is the quarterback versus how much of this is the supporting cast.
I think, to be fair in the receivers thing too, obviously there's depth issue because of all the injuries, like Pringle's out now, Harry has been out, Bayless missed all of that time in camp. And so that is possibly why he's not, farther along than he is. So there is something there too, to the injuries. You can't always plan for that, but obviously that goes back to the depth then of what he was able to bring in. So
going to a coffee shop is a great experience, but it's not something most of us can do every day. If you're looking for a delicious local coffee shop taste on a daily basis, it's so much easier to get it with Trade Coffee. Trade Coffee is a coffee subscription service that makes it so simple for you to discover new coffees and make your best cup of coffee at home every day. No fancy equipment required. Trade partners with the nation's top-rated independent roasters to send you coffee that they know that you'll love, fresh to your home and on your preferred schedule. And you get to support small, local businesses, a win-win. Whether you already know what you like or are new to specialty coffee and need some help, Trade makes it easy and convenient to discover new coffees. They'll send you ground coffee or whole beans for however you make your coffee at home. We here at Hoge Jahns are bold, so we prefer a bold cup of coffee. So we love the Gotham blend from Irving Farm. It's extra dark, rich, and full of chocolate indulgence. It's just one of the many independent coffees we're featuring in our Hoge Jahns collection from Trade Coffee. So whether you're just getting started or a coffee aficionado looking to discover something new, Trade guarantees you'll love your first bag, or they'll send you something new for free. Upgrade your coffee today with Trade Coffee and let them take the guesswork out of finding your perfect cup. That's drinktrade.com/Adam22 for $30 off your subscription to the best coffees in the country. drinktrade.com/Adam22. That's drinktrade.com/Adam22. If you're a small business owner, you know how important it is to be ready for the insane holiday season. Heck, just getting Christmas cards out can be extremely busy. But if you haven't started preparing for the chaos of the holiday mailing and shipping, you're already falling behind. Luckily, Stamps.com, has everything you need to make your whole life a whole lot easier. It's a 24/7 post office that you can access from anywhere. No lines, no traffic, no hassle. Stamps.com is your one-stop shop for all your shipping and mailing needs. For more than 20 years, Stamps.com has been indispensable for over 1 million businesses. Get access to the USPS and UPS services you need to run your business right from your computer. With inflation on the rise, every dollar counts. Protect your margins with major discounts on USPS and UPS rates, up to 86% off. Get ahead of the holiday chaos this year. Get started with Stamps.com today. Sign up with a promo code ADAMS for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial plus free postage and a free digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com. That's Stamps.com. Click the microphone at the top of the page and enter code ADAMS.
Hey, you probably have figured out that we record a lot of these Hoge Jahns episodes in the mornings. And you might be wondering, why is Hoge drinking a tall boy a beer at 9 o'clock in the morning? Well, it's not beer, actually. It's just water. And it's called Liquid Death, and it comes in a can, not a bottle, and it kind of looks like it's a giant beer or some type of energy drink, but it's actually just water in a can. Why is it called Liquid Death? Well, because it will brutally murder your thirst, and the cans are infinitely recyclable, helping to bring death to plastic bottles. That's really why it's called Liquid Death. They donate 10% of the profits from every can sold to help kill plastic pollution. And if you don't know why plastic is a problem, well, it's actually not that recyclable anymore. Most plastic you throw in a recycling bin actually just gets sent to a landfill because it's not profitable to recycle. Aluminum is infinitely recyclable and actually profitable for recycling facilities. So you're going to want to check it out. You can find it in your grocery store. It might be sitting there on the shelf. And you're like, oh, is that beer? No, it's just Liquid Death. And you can either get the mountain water or the seltzer as well. Just crack open one. I'm telling you, they are cold because they come in aluminum, just like an ice cold beer would be. It's sitting in some ice. You know how it tastes, just extra cold. Same thing with these Liquid Death cans of water. Check it out. Go get Liquid Death at your local 7-Eleven, Jewel, Target, or CVS, or find a Liquid Death retailer near you with their store locator tool at liquiddeath.com/Adam. That's liquiddeath.com/Adam. Hey, after a weekend of tailgating, life is scary when you show up for work Monday pretending that your brain is still functioning. Hey, we all deal with Sunday scaries, right? Sunday scaries are those, oh shit, stressful, nervous, can't sleep, dread feelings. They hit you on Sunday evenings when you think about school or work coming up tomorrow, or just freaking life in general. Unfortunately, you can feel that same pit in your stomach any day of the week. Sunday Scaries CBD gummies were made to defeat the crap that life throws us. These are the perfect CBD gummies for professionals on the grind, super moms, students, party animals, regretful, drunk sexters. Let that sink in, and everyone in between. Look, with everything I got going on during football season, I don't really relax well. With the crazy days that go every single week, basically until February, it's hard to shut off my brain and chill. I overthink, stress myself out at sometimes. And Sunday Scaries, deliciously cute vitamin-boosted CBD gummies are my must-have because they actually work and they chill you out fast. Look, we all have the right to live scare-free. So whether you need to take the edge off, calm your racing mind, sleep better, or just chill, take 2 CBD gummies every day to keep the scaries away. Let me save you with my 25% discount. Visit sundayscaries.com. Use my promo code THEATHLETIC, all one word, THEATHLETIC, for your discount. That's promo code THEATHLETIC for 25% off at sundayscaries.com.
You're good. You're good.
Our guy Herb Howard has entered the meeting. What's up, Herb?
Not too much. How y'all feeling this morning?
What's going on, Eastern Time Zone?
Something.
We can start this over, right? Start this from the top.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Ryan Poles' place in. Just look at Justin's numbers. They are what they are. They're among the worst among starting quarterbacks. Like, how much blame does Ryan Poles get in this conversation? Where would you put things?
I think you would have to. I don't know if blame is the right word. I think it would be intentional. I think he has to understand it. He certainly shouldn't be surprised by what he's seeing from Justin. He understood that he didn't put much around him. And so I think that he was kind of coming into this season trying to just see how much can Justin do on his own? How can I evaluate him off the field as much as I evaluate him on the field? Is he the kind of leader that we want to be? Is he the kind of guy that people will follow? Can he make some of those special plays on his own? But in terms of trying to evaluate him based on his numbers, when you know for sure that you didn't put much around him in terms of elite level talent on the outside, elite level talent on the front line, I don't know that you can evaluate him like that. So I don't know that I would say I blame Poles, but I would certainly say that he shouldn't be surprised by what he's seeing. I think that he understood exactly what to expect from Justin coming into this season.
So I guess I'm just like the follow-up to that is what's the motivation behind that strategy? You know what I mean? Like why not give your young quarterback like the tools he needs to succeed? Like I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that's the best way to develop or evaluate him, because aren't we all sitting here right now like confused about what Justin really is? Because yes, he's struggling, but also he's in like one of the worst situations you could put any quarterback, let alone a second-year quarterback who's still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I think he's trying to tear this thing down to the studs and just see exactly what Justin can and cannot do, kind of on his own almost, right? And there are a couple of pieces around him you like what they do in the backfield, but in terms of investing heavily into that offense, I think he just wasn't going to do that. He wanted to come in, kind of evaluate this thing from a clean slate. Who do I want here? How many of these young guys can be building blocks going forward? And then we'll actually evaluate Justin next year, right? In terms of, do we want him here when we're going to be good? Once he's able to make those investments, once he's able to have a full allotment of draft picks and cap space and those types of things. So I'm not saying that it's the best plan, but I do think he came in with his mind made up that he wasn't going to invest heavily in this team. He was going to simply see who was already here, who we want to keep, who was going to be gone, and then after that, we'll try and surround whoever's left with what they need.
Well, yeah. And that's why I was going to say, John, that's why I wonder if, and Herb is right. That's been the plan. He's been steadfast in it. He's been consistent in that. But I do wonder, as a first-time general manager, and first-time all general managers make mistakes, and first-time general managers for sure. I just wonder if he was being honest after this season is over, unless things change considerably, if he would be like, yeah, I've done things differently. Maybe I would not have. Well, maybe I shouldn't have started from day one. You know what I mean? Like maybe Larry Borum was not the right guy to develop at right tackle or whatever the case may be, or maybe I should have brought in this receiver or extra offensive lineman. I just wonder if this is a learning experience for him. This is nothing devastating, not like he screwed this team. We've seen rebuilds before, but I do wonder if he had to do it again, if he would be a little bit more sincere with the players that he put on this roster.
I want to go back to what Herb talked about in terms of like building blocks, because I think what you have right now is a young quarterback caught up in a rebuilding process, and it's probably unfair to Justin a bit because he's in his second season, but it is what it is. This is what the Bears do to quarterbacks, right? The GM, the head coach, and the quarterback are never truly aligned, and he's just got to somehow find a way to succeed through a rebuilding process, through a year where they're looking at a lot of young players at a lot of different spots. So in terms of building blocks, Chris Emma, let's start with you. Like, who are some of the players that you see through 6 games that, oh yeah, he's a building block. Like he belongs here, not only just like here next year, but 2 years, 3 years. Like the Bears can use him. And like, who are your guys? Give us 5.
It's been nice to see Khalil Herbert getting more of the opportunity, and I want to see that continue throughout the course of this year, is that multi-dimensional backfield, not just Montgomery, but getting Herbert more involved. I think he's somebody who fits the system well, who can give some versatility out of the backfield. I don't think we've seen his ceiling yet. He's midway through his second season. He's a 6th-round pick. Credit to Ryan Pace. That was a terrific find in the draft. I think he's somebody you could be building with. And when you look at that running back position now, Dave Montgomery in a contract year. You look at Ryan Poles' background in Kansas City, not really willing to give running backs those big money second deals. Montgomery should covet good stability. I just don't think he's going to get that in Chicago. I think Herbert is somebody you can continue to build with this offense now, going from his second to his third season and beyond that. I wish I had a great long list of guys to give you,
right?
But this is not a very good football team. You want to see guys emerge, right? This is what the season's all about now. 2-4. There's 11 games left. It's hard to say, but look, you need to see some of these guys kind of emerge and getting these opportunities now. On the defensive side of the ball, it's been nice to see the bounce back year for Eddie Jackson. You're seeing some of the dividends of what he wanted to do, mixed in with what Matt Eberflus envisioned for him. I think I was expecting a little bit more from that young group. Jaquan Brisker's had his moments. Kyler Gordon has had his growing pains. Ideally, that turns into some highlights for him as the season progresses on. But I expected more from that defensive group.
Colleen, got any names?
Yep.
Jalen Johnson, I think, is one. I think it's hard to tell whether I think Brisker and probably maybe Gordon will get there. Will probably be building blocks, but maybe it's a little too early to tell at this point. I think Mooney is still a building block. Maybe he's not the number one receiver guy that they have, that they have placed him in that role this year, but I think he's still a building block. I would agree with maybe Herbert. Yeah. You look at the offensive line and I'm not sure.
How about, here's a name for you guys, Herb and Mark. How about Tevin Jenkins?
See, John, I kind of look at the question like, who can you not afford to lose? Like, who do you have to lock up going forward? And to me, like, Jalen Johnson's the first name. Then I'm like, all
He's
right,
got a contract coming up.
that's a cornerback position. That's a marquee spot. You can't afford to lose him. We already saw him this season, how different the defense looked when he wasn't out there. It's like, I don't know. Does Khalil Herbert fit that for me? Like, I'm not going to give him an extension either. Just like I'm not going to give David Montgomery a huge amount of money. You know what I mean? So like, Tevin Jenkins has a lot more to prove before I put him anywhere near that category. I don't think there's a single offensive lineman right now that I'd be like, oh yeah, can't live without that guy.
Yeah, and it still feels unfinished with Tevin Jenkins to me. Like even though in terms of the evaluation process of Jenkins and how Jenkins feels about the Bears and everything that went down at the beginning of the season. I know we haven't heard anything about that whole storyline for a while, but I still am curious as to what they truly think about Tevin Jenkins and where or if he fits in with the Bears next season. So I agree. There's not a lot of guys on this roster who are untouchable, I suppose would be a good way to put it. I'm totally with Colleen on Jalen Johnson. I feel like that's a guy that just I like watching him get better every year. Like that's the type of dude he is. He just gets a little bit better every year. But yeah, I mean, we're all talking about the same guys with Brisker and Gordon. I'll throw in a Dominique Robinson. I like the way he is played. I mean, sometimes you don't know he's out there, but every once in a while then you hear his name called 2 or 3 times. So he's an interesting prospect. And I do wonder if, some of these other, like if we're going to see a Jatiri Carter get some playing time on the offensive line at some point in time with this.
Alex Leatherwood.
Yeah. I mean, Emma, they talked about these lineup changes. I thought that was one of the most interesting things that Eberflus offered. I was not in the Matt Eberflus press conference, but I know you guys were asking, or actually I think he just offered that the plan was 3 good things, 3 bad things in the evaluation, and we're going to look at everything. And he said, we're going to look at lineup. So I think that's bad.
I mean, here's a name for you. Sorry. Herb, let's go with you. Roquan Smith.
Yeah, I think so, right? I think Roquan should be a building block. There's obviously the contract situation, and I think if nothing else, I think Poles will tag him. Like I think so, at least once. We'll see what comes of that. But I'm with you guys. I'm Jalen Johnson for sure. But I think it goes back to what we were talking about in terms of Ryan Poles' plan. I think he understood. I don't know who is untouchable. I don't know who I have to have here. So let's just throw all these guys out there, see what we got. And so if we get 17 starts from a 5th round left tackle from Southern Utah, that's a win. Whether he does well or not, we got 17 stars from a 5th round left tackle. Let's just see and find out if he's something that we can build with. I love everything I've seen from Jaquan Brisker. I think they're doing the same thing with Kyler Gordon in terms of just throwing him out there. We saw how bad he struggled the first 3-4 games. He's gotten a little bit better the last 2 games, but just throw him out there. Keep putting everything on his plate. Let him play outside, let him play inside, let him struggle, let him grow through it or not grow through it. Doesn't really matter. We're going to evaluate this thing at the end and see if he is one of those guys. I think they're doing that with a lot of these young kids, and they just kind of find out. I love that Emma threw out Alex Leatherwood's name. You got to see what you can get from N'Keal Harry when he comes back. If he could be better than Mooney, right? If he could be more productive than Mooney, then maybe you have a situation where you can go into next year where N'Keal Harry is your number 2. You go out and find a legitimate number 1, either in free agency or the draft, and now Mooney's your 3rd wide receiver in the slot. And now you got a pretty good group coming into that year, but you just got to find out. You just got to throw these guys out there and see. I think that's what they're doing with a lot of these guys. I don't think he can answer affirmatively for anyone on that team, save the couple of names that we've thrown out.
All right, guys, let's end with this. There's 11 games left on the schedule. Can you find 4 wins? So, like, if I were to say the over-under on wins the rest of the season, not the total on the season, just from this point on is 3.5. Are you taking the over? Emma, let's start with you.
Pulling out my Bears pocket schedule here for you. I did this exercise ahead of time.
They don't make pocket schedules, do they?
They do. Right here, baby. It's look, I want to say yes. I kid about the pocket schedule. I want to say yes, right? I mean, it's tough. This is like, I know there's parity in the NFL. Weird things happen. There's going to be injuries to other teams, things like that. But it's tough. Like, ideally, you beat the Lions in one of these games, right? Maybe you steal one from the Vikings in that Week 18 game. I don't know. It's a really tough road the rest of the way. I mean, looking at those Eagles and Bills games in December at Soldier Field, those teams look like 2 of the best teams in football right now. Falcons look feisty. Jets are suddenly upstart. Like, I want to say yes. I want to say they get those 4 more wins, but it's hard to look down the schedule and say, oh, it's there.
And what game are they going to be favored in, like in the next 5? The Lions game?
Lions at home, maybe. Yeah.
They weren't even favored against Washington. It was a pick 'em where they were getting a point, and that's
well. And some of these games
tough.
that looked like possible wins have gotten a lot harder. You know, Atlanta beat the 49ers yesterday. They're 3-3. The Jets are obviously, much improved. They go into Lambeau and win, which the Bears can't do. And you're going through a brutal stretch there right around the bye week where you come out of the bye and you're playing the Eagles and the Bills. You know what I mean? Like, so this schedule that we thought was a lot easier, I think they went through the so-called easy part already, and they're 2-4.
I would have thought, actually, that the New England game would have been winnable. And I get everything that go on the road, Bill Belichick, young quarterback. But I don't know, this whole Zappy thing has kind of changed. I don't know if that's for real. Zappy's just going to be a punchline in a year or so. And then the Dallas game, I thought they would win one of those 2 games on the road, but now it looks like Dak Prescott. I would be shocked if Prescott's not back by the October 30th game against Dallas. So I don't even know. Hey, guys, I'm just trying to get to 8 wins. I picked the Bears to have 8 wins somehow this season.
Around 7.
Yeah.
I think I always pick them against Detroit and then Atlanta, and then maybe if they can get the Minnesota one, if Minnesota's like, not playing for anything at that point or something, like if they've already got their fate sealed.
That's only 3 now.
Both Detroit. I'll pick them both Detroit. That's how they get to 4.
You might steal that Dolphins game. You might steal that Vikings finale. The NFL's weird. Like, it's easy to go down the schedule, say loss, this and that, but like, I don't know. You win games you're not supposed to win. You get a monsoon against a team that's pretty good, and you pull it out week 1. Things like that. The problem, as Adam mentioned, is that they lost a game on Thursday, and they've lost games that they should have won. Like, they've not made those winning plays, and they've not gotten the job done in the quote-unquote easy part of their schedule. And now you really get the challenges, and you're trying, when we talk about the big picture now, developing this young roster and identifying these pieces against some really good football teams, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think there's a way to find 4. I hope so. I picked them to get 6, right? So I need them to find these last 4. I think I'll always take them over the Lions. I'm with Colleen on that. I'll always take them over the Lions. I think they could go down there and get the Falcons. And I'm trying to find a 4th that I feel good about, and I don't really feel good about the Jets. I don't really feel good about the Vikings. I certainly don't feel good about the boys or the Bills. So we'll see. I'm hoping that they can find 4, but I'll right now I can only confidently say I feel decent about 3, and that's the Lions and the Falcons. So they may just come in right around 5, which, again, if I'm Ryan Poles, not the worst thing. I've got a lot of young kids, some experience, and I still got a top 5 pick. And I'm not going to come out and say, hey, I'm happy about the draft pick or anything. I'm not saying they're tanking, certainly not, but it's not the worst thing in the world for them to, get all this experience from their young kids and not win a ton of games.
Yeah, it is just what it is in a rebuilding process. All right, quickly. Everybody, what do you want to see from Justin Fields over these next 11 games? Let's start with you, Herb.
I just want to see him continue to get better post-snap, right? I think he's gotten to a space where he understands what he's seeing pre-snap. Can he get to the space on post-snap to where he's able to quickly decipher what happens to him and find answers with his eyes and his arm? He can find the answers with his feet, and I'm not opposed to that, right? I'm not opposed to him taking off and running. He can do it more. I would like them to incorporate some more design runs, some of the read option stuff we saw last night with Jalen Hurts. Like, let's do some of that stuff. But as far as Justin specifically, just being able to find the answers with his eyes and his arm. Can he get to his 3rd progression? Can he come all the way across formation and get to his 4th? He's kind of at a space now. You hear him being defiant about, oh, he's my 4th, 5th read. Well, maybe sometimes you need to get to your 4th or 5th read. That's okay. That's not against the rules. Like, you can get to your 4th and 5th read sometimes. And so it would be nice for him to kind of get to that level at some point in the season where you see him kind of scan the entire field, chop his feet, climb the pocket, slide, and make a throw accurately on, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, that type of thing. Because right now that seems like an automatic sack or either a scramble for a first down.
Yeah, for me, it's got to start with health. This whole season's a wash. It means nothing. If you lose your quarterback, you're not able to get those evaluations. Like, keep him healthy. It's been tough. He's been dealing with it this year. And then piggybacking off what Herb said, just finding those opportunities within the course of the offense, or finding that busted coverage and making those big plays that he's not been able to make yet this season. And like Herb said, go through your reads and see, there's somebody there. You just got off the safety. He's open with 40 yards downfield. Like, not everything has to be within the timing and rhythm of the offense. Ideally, that's how you get that best functionality, but you want to find those opportunities of somebody who gets open and beats his one-on-one. And that's how you make those big plays. That's how you transform the course of the second season for him. So that's what I want to see more of from him.
I would say not even just the big plays, sometimes just the easy plays, right? Like he's missing on some of those. But also, as Herb was saying, have some more calm in the pocket. Obviously not always just take it and run, make more plays with his arm, work on that breathing in the pocket with his yoga instructor.
Yeah.
And stay healthy, of course, like Chris said. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's everything. I think that the calm in the pocket is just so important. I mean, I'm still like what he said a couple of weeks ago in regards, and I know we had fun with the yoga stuff, but just the revelation that he made that, hey, man, this game is just now starting to slow down for me. I mean, that's huge. You never hear football players say, yeah, this game is too fast for me. He essentially said that day, that he was trying to speed up because everything else was so fast. So that's so massive that he just said he's just starting to understand how to compose himself on an NFL field. And I want to see that continue to develop, not just from one game where the camera catches him doing the deep breathing. I want to see that continue to develop because that's absolutely everything, I think, for Justin Fields. If he can let everything slow down and see it the way he needs to see it, because he ain't seeing it yet. He's not seeing the open guys. He's not seeing his second and third reads. Once he can do that, then I think that we could start to say, okay, there's something here with this guy, that he might be good or great.
Did y'all see the graphic did y'all see the graphic they put up last night about Jalen Hurts in terms of how much offensive coordinator turnover he's had since college? Every single year he's had a new OC until this year. This is the first year that he's had consecutive OCs, and you can see the difference on the field. That matters. Like I don't think that we put enough emphasis on how difficult it is for Justin to be a second-year quarterback already under his second system. We talk about the minimal talent that he has around him. That just amplifies the issue. The issue is he's trying to learn a totally new system in 2 years. He had to invest heavily to try to figure out what Matt Nagy and Bill Lazor were trying to do. Now you're trying to do this thing, and it's like that in and of itself is hard. That slows down your post-snap clock in and of itself. So I think that if he's able to have that stability next year and more talent around him, we could potentially see him begin to reach the potential that I certainly think he has.
Yeah, I'm going to be controversial here. I'm going to say I just want to see more touchdowns. Because that's how you
You're asking a lot
points. I know. But I mean, come on, 4 touchdowns, 5 if you include his rushing touchdown through 6 games. For a guy as dynamic as he is, who can score with his legs too, that's just not enough in today's NFL. So, and there's missed opportunities every game, 3 missed opportunities just Thursday night, where that total can be a lot higher. And granted, there's a lot of things going on as we've discussed here in this hour, but some of it can be on him too, to just go get that ball across the goal line. So,
you know what, Hoge? One of the things I was going to say too, just to put a punctuation or exclamation point on what you're saying right there, take matters into your own hands sometimes. I mean, you don't need to go outside of what they're coaching you or the playbook, but every once in a while, he's got to say F it and do things his way on the field too.
And some of that's on Getsy too. Like, you have a quarterback that could score at the goal line too. Like, take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. All right. We got to roll.
One quick thought. The most un-Bears thing to do would be actually providing their quarterback with consistency. They never do it. Un-Bears.
That's definitely not the case. Guys, I appreciate every one of you jumping on today, having this discussion on this mini buy. I hope all of our podcast listeners, I'm sure they already do check out all of your work, but make sure that you are reading, watching, listening to each and every one of these fine people that cover the Chicago Bears. Thanks so much, everyone. Okay, Johns, I know we have listeners that listen to this podcast when they're on the L train. Do you think it was confusing for those people when they heard another train while they were on the train?
Maybe the timing of it was funny. Every time Chris was talking, they all would go by.
Well, he clearly, I don't know where he lives, but he clearly lives like in one of those apartments that when you're on the Brown line, you're like inside the apartment, basically.
Yes, yeah.
That's
city
fine.
living, man.
Yeah, I miss it. Hey, that noise was like the soundtrack of my youth, basically.
It was the ding ding doors closing.
Yeah,
you could like hear that clearly if you're close enough.
And we do want to mention too, make sure you're checking out Herb Howard, because he wasn't there at the start, so we didn't mention all of his credentials, but you follow him on Twitter at Herb Howard 411. He covers the Bears for It's the Bigs. They do great work, and we love Herb. So I'm glad he popped in there at the end, even though he didn't have the exact time right. But fun discussion with the whole crew. And as far as the rest of this week goes, so the Bears are on sort of a different schedule because they play Monday night. So really the actual work week doesn't start until Thursday for them. They are back in the building tomorrow, though, for some meetings. And so there will be some media availability tomorrow. We thought we'd give you this episode a day early because of, the long break in between everything. But we'll be back Thursday with our preview episode to break down this Bears-Patriots game. Johns, the Patriots are 7.5-point favorites.
Oh, I haven't even checked yet, really.
Yeah.
With Bailey, it's Bailey Zapp, right? Not Zappy Zapp.
No, it's Zappy.
Zappy, it's even worse.
Yeah. But Mac Jones might be back. I think there's a chance.
Actually, if I know my experience watching the Patriots just casually, I would not be surprised if Zappy gets the other start. What is he, 2-0?
Yeah.
Playing pretty well.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Belichick gave that very non-committal answer about who's better or how they're different. Like, what are his stats right now?
But this was one of the games we were looking forward to at the beginning of the year because it was Mac Jones versus Justin Fields.
It'd be so Bill Belichick not to give it to everybody, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
So he is 2-0. Go on.
Did you see the rookie? I don't even know who it is, but some rookie made a play, I think, on special teams yesterday, and he tried to give Bill the ball. And not only did it tells you a lot about Bill Belichick that he had no interest in participating whatsoever, but there was another staffer standing right there that like totally intervened and was like, "What are you doing? Like, how dare you try to do that?"
He had that look of like, "Get out of here, kid."
Yeah,
type of look, right? All right, quickly. I know you want to run. We got to run. I mean, look, 3 games for Zappy, 2-0 in his 2 starts. He's completed 72.9% of his passes, 51 for 70, 596 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's averaging nearly 200 passing yards per game, passer rating of 111.4.
Jesus.
Just think about that a little bit after that long conversation we just had about the Bears.
I mean, it's too early in the week. I haven't gone through enough Patriots tape yet, but I'm guessing that's sort of a Cooper Rush situation.
Coaching, which is fine.
Yeah, which is fine. But like you saw last night, like in that Cowboys game, like, okay. Any nonsense about how Dak Prescott should like delay his return because of Cooper Rush. It's like, come on.
Well, I got one thought.
There's a difference.
That's also a case of the Cowboys now playing up against one of the best teams in the league, maybe the best team in the league in the Eagles.
Yeah.
I am sorry, but the Bears are not that going against the Patriots.
True. I'm just saying, like, in terms of what Bailey Zappi really is. I don't. Yeah. I think if you're a Patriots fan, you want to see the development of Mac Jones continue.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. Certainly, that's what I want to see in this matchup is Mac Jones versus Justin Fields. But hopefully Justin's healthier. I am intrigued, and I don't know if we'll have the answers by Thursday morning, but I am intrigued to see. Don't you expect some type of change on the offensive line this week?
Well, I know for sure there's going to be a change of punt returner, if I'm reading Matt Eberflus correctly. But I would anticipate one. There has to be something.
Yeah,
it's just not good enough. Just not good enough.
You can't just keep running those guys out there and saying that's your best 5. Then your best 5 sucks.
Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
So, all right. Well, we got to roll. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this pod today. We'll be back later in the week for your Bears Patriots. Yes. Monday Night Football. The Bears are right back in prime time. I think this is the last one in the season, though.
Correct.
They are at noon the rest of the season with the Week 18 game still to be determined because that's always determined based off playoff scenarios.
They ain't flexing anything.
Well, that could be a late afternoon game if the Vikings are playing for something. And remember how they try to line up all the windows so that the teams playing for something all play at the same time.
Everybody's watching them.
But otherwise, we're at noon the rest of the season after this Monday night game. And I can't wait to hear what Peyton and Eli have to say about this Bears team. Because we get the Peyton Eli experience on Monday Night Football.
That's true. That actually may be better than actually covering the game in person.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's still a week away now that I think about it, this game. So there's plenty of time, but we'll get there. Follow us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns. Read Johnsy on The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. You can read me at allchgo.com and check out the CHGO Bears podcast every single day at noon. All right, we're out of here. Talk to you later in the week.
See ya.